Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Fifer, served up by Wendy's on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, The Fan. Download the Wendy's app today.
Charlie really is a nice guy. He really is. So they got this producer's refrigerator, and they put different, things in it, food, drink, whatever. And what do you all like? This liquid death stuff?
Yeah, liquid death. It's a sparkling water. It's so good.
So normally it's like this, what is it? Dr. Death or whatever?
Dr. Death, yeah. It's like a Dr. Pepper flavored sparkling water.
Yeah.
It's
so
good.
That's what him and Tommy normally drink. So I'll, from time to time, go out and get a 6-pack or whatever they are, and bring them in for Charlie and Tommy to drink or whatever else. So then in the break, Charlie's telling me about they had some new one, apple cider one.
It's like cider killer or something like that.
So I was like, oh, so he's like, yeah, I got 2 6-packs. I brought them in, and by time I came back on Monday or whatever, there was like one left. I was like, one left? I'm like, who drank them all? And then Charlie proceeds to tell me, well, I let Mitch Nellis have one. I let Drew Widener have one. La, 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 la. I was like, what? You should be charging them a couple bucks a can.
I'm a nice guy. They're my buddies.
You are a nice guy.
I guess I'll get you one too. That's what I prefaced it with.
I am not a sparkling water connoisseur.
Really?
No. If it's got bubbles in the water, I'm out. Like I drink this splash water. That's my first of all, it's cheap. It's like $2 or $3 for like 6 of them. So that's what I drink. But if it's carbonated water,
that's what I used to think, and then I tried these, and now I've been branching out to other ones. It got me into sparkling water.
Yeah, my 18-year-old started drinking those things a couple of years ago. I can't do it. All right, coming up this hour, Aaron Perez, owner of Punt Factory. And Punt Factory, you may never have heard of in your life, but they are the ones that really have helped the Packers punter become as good as he is. And we'll talk to him at 3:20. Charlie Sounds of the day coming up at 3:40, and still to come, Easton Butler, right, for Packer Report, and has the Romeo Doubs trade possible story. Apparently, they have a couple offers on the table to the Packers right now for Romeo Doubs in a trade scenario. So we'll talk to him about that at 4 o'clock. All right, I want to talk about this ESPN piece that was put up. So they went around the NFL, they talked to all the executives and all of that. And what I don't understand about this whole thing is the fact that while it is a great piece, I don't understand where some of this comes from. So MVP, Lamar Jackson, quarterback. Does it feel like they always say voter fatigue in the NBA, right? That's why Giannis doesn't win every year. La, 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 la. That's why Michael Jordan didn't win every year, or Shaq and all that. These NBA voters don't like voting for the same guy every year. Okay, fine. I swear to you, every year it's Lamar Jackson, it's Patrick Mahomes, it's Josh Allen. It's those three that every year we're talking about going into the season. No different this year. Plus on the list, Joe Burrow and the quarterback the Packers will face tomorrow night, Jaden Daniels. Lamar Jackson projected to win MVP.
I think the biggest thing between the NFL and the NBA, and I think people have talked about this too, just with the caliber of the teams, but also the caliber of quarterbacks and how hard it is to win MVP as a player that's not quarterback. But there's a certain tier of quarterbacks in the league that I think just separate themselves from the next tier. Again, much like the NFC, where we were talking, the Packers were kind of in that in-between of the Eagles and everybody else, and they're still kind of trying to get to that point where they're at the Eagles level. At the NBA, there's a lot more, I guess, just parity right now between the league, and there's also a lot more just MVP caliber players playing all the time on a national stage. So it's a lot easier to argue some of those players deserve MVP love over the NFL, where you look at last season, say it was Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. And It really was nobody else besides maybe Saquon Barkley, and they're not going to give it to Saquon Barkley. So why even make that argument? It's going to one of those two guys, and that is just clearly how it is. Nobody else can argue anybody else.
I understand that, and I get that. But why is it always got to be a damn quarterback?
I hate that too. Yeah.
I mean, Derrick Henry, did you watch Derrick Henry's first week? Did you?
Yeah.
That dude, Buffalo looked like they were a high school team running against an NFL player.
Looks.
Dude just runs through guys, runs away from guys. You don't ever see this dude in MVP conversation at the beginning of a year. It never happens. And it should. If you're going to give Lamar Jackson all that love, which I'm not saying he doesn't deserve, but Derrick Henry should also get love too. because Derrick Henry makes that team significantly better than it was when J.K. Dobbins was at the running back position.
Definitely. And I think you could say the same thing about Jamar Chase and the Bengals.
Yeah.
And Joe Burrow is a phenomenal player and deserves MVP love, but he also doesn't deserve the same kind of MVP love if he doesn't have a Jamar Chase receiving balls for him.
Correct. So now you have the Offensive Player of the Year award. Now we get other people. This is what cracks me up. The MVP and the Offensive Player. How aren't those the same people?
I don't know.
It's the most valuable player is an offensive player. How is he not also Offensive Player of the Year?
Doesn't make any sense to me.
So here they have Jaden Daniels, based on front office league executives, as the Offensive Player of the Year. Also receiving votes. There's Derrick Henry, Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Saquon, Jamar Chase, Burrow, and Jahmyr Gibbs. You can take Jahmyr Gibbs, stuff that bad boy in an envelope, and send it back to the person that voted for that one after what we saw in week 1. So those are your Offensive Player of the Years. No Packers mentioned for MVP. No Packers mentioned for Offensive Player of the Year.
Well, the other thing that I think is dumb, too, about that is if you're going to really only consider quarterbacks for the MVP award, then you shouldn't consider them for the Offensive Player of the Year award, too. That's the other dumb thing.
Separate it then.
Right. Again, if MVP is going to be a quarterback award, I know they will never come out and say that, but that's how it's been, and that's how it's going to continue to be moving forward here.
Agreed.
Then you have
Unless
to give
Travis
the love to
Hunter
other people.
starts both ways and does something.
Exactly. You have to give the love to other people. Just like now that I think people are complaining that some offensive linemen deserve love in the Offensive Player of the Year vote, and they were like, fine, we'll just give you your own award and get you to shut up that way because then you get the love that you deserve, just not with those star players. Separate everything. This is dumb. And with the Packers and Offensive Player of the Year, Josh Jacobs, I think, probably deserves some love there. Outside of that, I don't think right now I would say anybody deserves to be at that spot.
Well, I got to tell you, Peralta learns, doesn't he? Berger's second home run of the game. Do you know how many pitches Peralta's at? That was his 101st pitch of the game. They're in the 5th. Now there's 2 outs. That was a 2-run jack. 5-2. Berger with 2 home runs in the game. Not sure if Wendy's sponsors him or not in Texas, but that was a monster shot. That'd be like a triple Wendy's burger by Jake Berger. 7th career multi-hit game. Again, 5-2 now. Peralta's at 101 pitches. I don't even know what to tell you. I'm just so frustrated with Ray Peralta. And just, okay. And again, we go back to where is he starting in the rotation of a playoff series? That's the thing, right? I mean, you want him going out there game 1 in Milwaukee? Or would you rather have him go out there to start on the road? Hopefully you're up 2-0 at that point. I don't know. We'll talk more about it as we get closer to the playoffs, obviously. All right, so back to this story on ESPN, this NFL story. Then you have Defensive Player of the Year. And Myles Garrett is that guy. Also receiving votes, Patrick Surtain, Micah, and Trayvon Walker of the Jacksonville Jaguars. But Myles Garrett wins it. I don't think I'd be surprised if Myles Garrett wins it. But this is my thing. If you're the best defensive player on a team that makes has one of the best records in the National Football League versus the best player on a team that sucks, with all due respect to the player on the team that stinks, I don't think they deserve the award over a team that's really good at this point. With all due respect to Myles Garrett, if that Cleveland team wins 3 or 4 games and Green Bay is at 13 wins with the schedule that they have, and Micah Parsons, has his best sack year at 15 or 16 sacks, Micah Parsons has to win it that way. Now, Surtain, that's a little bit different because he's probably going to be on a winning team. But Myles Garrett certainly is not going to be on a winning team.
Well, but I think that's the argument that people use to separate MVP from these individual awards. Yes. Is that MVP is about also bringing success to your team as well, making everybody else around you. And that Offensive and Defensive Player of the Year are individual awards for a personally phenomenal season. So I get where you're coming from, that team success should matter a little bit. But if Myles Garrett goes out there and has 23 sacks this season, I feel like you kind of have to give him the Defensive Player of the Year.
But does he have to... Okay, let me ask this way. How much does he have to beat, say, Micah Parsons by in the sack category for it to be him? If they're even, it goes to the winning player, right?
Yeah, I would say like good 2.5 sacks at least, yeah.
Right. Okay, so at least we're kind of on the same board there. Offensive Rookie of the Year. Everybody's on this train because the head coach loves to run the football. Mario Hampton, running back for the Chargers, fine. Was nothing too special, in my opinion. His first game, we'll see. I still think Gentry's a better running back, but Genties were going to be in a situation with the Raiders, 500, somewhere in that one. If I was putting money down at the Potawatomi Sportsbook on this, Ibuka from Tampa Bay would be that's who I'd put my money down on. With all due respect to Matthew Golden. And Matthew Golden got votes here. Votes went to Tyler Warren of the Colts. That'd be a good bet because he was a stud in week 1, the tight end. Ibuka, Travis Hunter, Trayvon Henderson for the Patriots, Ashton Genty, Matthew Golden, RJ Harvey in Denver would be another good one, I think. But again, a rookie running back like Hampton.
No Cam Ward?
No.
Not a single vote. He looked good in week 1. His wide receivers can't catch a ball.
They're not going to win. And if those wide receivers can't catch the ball, that's going to be reflected in his stats.
If they do eventually start catching that ball.
Ask Jordan Love about last year. Oh, Jordan Love stinks. Oh, Jordan Love's not as good as we thought. But they're horrible with drop balls. That doesn't matter. Okay. Well, that's what's going to be used against Cam Ward, I promise you.
It's early in the season. And I feel like that what we saw from that week 1 performance, just from him specifically, if you have any inkling that the Tennessee wide receivers can start to figure out, because Calvin Ridley is a good wide receiver and should be able to be a good option. Chico Quanquo, the tight end there, was good the past couple seasons, especially late on for a guy like Will Levis. I think that if they can figure it out a little bit, he should get a little bit of love there.
Yeah, I'm fine. I understand that. I just don't think it's going to happen. Freddie Peralta went 13 pitches, I believe it was. Yeah. 12 or 13, 12 pitches. 12 pitches to get the next batter out to end it. 113 pitches through 5.
You think he's done for the day, Sparky?
Yeah, he's definitely done. So down 5-2, they're in danger of getting swept by the Rangers now, which again is not end of the world stuff. You've got more than a big enough cushion. It's not that big of a deal. You pick up, you move on to your next series, but just so frustrating. Okay, defensive rookie of the year, according to ESPN, Abdul Carter, outside linebacker for the Giants. No more Micah Parsons. No more Micah Parsons to take away from him. No more Micah Parsons like comparisons, in my opinion, only because he's on a Giants team right now that unless something changes offensively at this point, he's going to be trying to stop the run in second half of games, right? You aren't going to he's not going to get to run after the quarterback like Micah Parsons does. He's going to have to stop the run the majority of the game because the other team's going to be so far up on this Giants offense. And that's been talked about. Jackson Dart should be starting. Mm-hmm. Russell Wilson's not the guy.
Yeah, I think if Jackson Dart is starting for this offense and they eventually figure something out, that defense is probably going to end up being one of the top 15, maybe top 10 defenses in the league. They held Washington, one of the better offenses in the league last season, to only 21 points when their offense was just giving the ball constantly back to them.
Comeback player of the year, they say J.J. McCarthy. Others, Dak Prescott, Aiden Hutchinson. Breakout player, Ricky Pearsall. Bo Nix, Tyler Guyton, Riley Moss, Kalen Bullock. Others receiving votes. Coach of the year, they think is going to be Harbaugh. Others receiving votes, Mike McDonald with the Seahawks, Vrabel with the Patriots, Schottenheimer with the Cowboys. There's no way Schottenheimer is winning that in Dallas. No
that's
chance.
Kind of crazy. Well,
no chance.
I don't know. With all the dysfunction that's been happening this offseason, if they make it the playoffs somehow in Dallas, you got to give them some love.
They're talking about bringing in Jadeveon Clowney now. They're so desperate for a pass rush. Stop.
That's if they make the playoffs that way. They played well against the Eagles.
Coming up next, we're going to talk with Aaron Perez, owner of the Punt Factory, and has done a great job of getting the Packers' current punter to be as good as he is. Follow the Punt Factory on Twitter at The Punt Factory. We'll talk to him next. You can watch him on YouTube as well. Search The Fan Milwaukee on YouTube. Watch all of our shows. Got videos, shorts, like, subscribe, share, all good stuff for you. Also, you can listen to us on your Odyssey app, AUDACY. He's straight ahead. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Time now for your fan weather forecast. 74 degrees, partly cloudy skies. Looks like clear skies for the remainder of tonight and a low of 58. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy. Steve Sparky, Fifer with you. Charlie Hughes producing the show. Other side of the glass. Packers, Commanders tomorrow. Green Bay football post-game show. Immediately following that one, we'll hear from Ryan Wood of the Green Bay Press-Gazette, Packers beat writer. After that game, we'll get sound from Jordan Love, Matt LaFleur, all the different players at the locker room. Take your calls, your tweets. You can chat with us as we stream every show live on YouTube. Get a part of the Dugout Chat on YouTube and conversate with others as well as with us there. Again, one big family is what we are here at The Fan. I want to be a big family with you as well. Joining us now on the Fan Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law. You can see him on YouTube too. There he is, his nice smiling face, Aaron Perez of Factory. Aaron, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you doing?
Aaron, there we go. I got you now.
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
Doing really good, man. Thanks for coming on. I will say Wendell Ferreira gets an A+ for great story in A to Z Sports and so forth. That's how I learned about you. I think that's how a lot of people learned about you and Punt Factory. And I'm always as a parent, I am a big believer in promoting things that can help other parents or other parents' kids get better at what they do and so forth. And this was a great piece on what you call the Punt Factory, and
Yes,
you can find them on Twitter at the Punt Factory. So before we get into Daniel Whelan and that whole thing, talk about how this whole concept started and how you got involved.
Yeah, so I was a soccer player in high school and got asked to play football out in Covina, California, Charter Oak Chargers, really, really top small public school out there. And I met a guy called Chris Saylor back in 2001 who was a Bruin. Started working with him. And as a junior, I had, 25, 30 Division I offers to punt, and I chose UCLA. Was there from 04 to 08 and still hold the unfortunate but awesome records of most punts and most punting yards in school history. And since that time, I worked alongside Chris, and we've developed punters all across the country. And now 4 of the boys are playing in the NFL, including Dan. And we run camps London, Seoul, Tokyo, and all over the country here. So it's been a great experience to kind of just chase your life's work and, get to teach punters, all over the world.
Can we rewind for a second? You said you played soccer in high school. So were you punting in high school too, or just playing soccer?
So I was just going to play soccer, and it's a long story, but a week before the first game of freshman year, I got asked to join the team. 3 weeks later, I got pulled up to varsity, and the rest was history.
Oh. Okay, then. All right. Well, that makes a lot more sense. So then what happened between college and the pros?
So I did do a little bit. I ended up signing with the Patriots for a month. And did some other camps, the Bills, the Dolphins, but I kind of think my pathway was to coach. So I spent my 20s coaching, and I ended up playing a little bit of professional soccer as well, going back to it. But been coaching, pretty much full time since 2010.
So I should have had you on to talk about the Team USA men's soccer team after last night, but we won't do that. We'll stay in our lane and talk about football. I want to kind of get your thoughts on this. So, where we are, we have, these high school teams that have these teams, these feeder programs. They're starting like first, second grade, these kids that are coming up and so forth. And with all due respect to the people that are coaching, I don't feel like a lot of them are probably getting the best coaching in the whole wide world for punting. So like, what kind of tools do parents really have if that's something their kid likes one way or the other as they're coming up?
So, it is hard. I mean, a lot of times what you'll have from like a grassroots level is a local, high school or college kid that, whether they started it to make a couple extra bucks in the off season or they just enjoy coaching. But, we have camps all over the country. I run camps personally in Nashville, SoCal, NorCal, Seattle, Houston. We've been down to Orlando. And now with the kicking industry, although it may seem small to the average person, I mean, there is a coach or a resource that you can find pretty much anywhere. And they're usually just former college guys that are doing it because they love it.
Talking with Aaron Perez, owner of Punt Factory. Follow him on Twitter at the Punt Factory and find out more about that. Let's talk about the relationship with Daniel Whelan and how that came to be.
That's an awesome one. So Danny, he's from Ireland. He came over here at like, I think it was 13 or 14 with his mom, Anne, who's an absolute rock star. We met at a camp, actually at a Chris Saylor camp, and we realized that we lived pretty close.
Oh.
And so in the 11th grade, I started coaching him one-on-one, and we would train pretty much anytime he had an opportunity. He went to UC Davis and played for a really, really top coach, Dan Hawkins. And I had already had a guy called Colby Wadman that was punting before Dan that played in the NFL a little bit. And so between Dan and myself, we just kept him going, kept him motivated. And then as he got closer to the end of his career, Ann started reaching out about what are the next steps. And I connected Dan with my former agent, who is Norm Chow's son, if you remember that name.
Oh, yeah. Norm Chow, offensive coordinator at USC.
He was and he was at UCLA my senior year. We connected.
Yep.
And Dan signed with Carter, and the rest is history. Carter's done an unbelievable job. He played with the Defenders, got an opportunity with Green Bay. And we've been, we talk pretty often, but we've been working together ever since, man. So it's been quite some time now.
The Defenders, the XFL team, I'm guessing you're going to say yes to this, but is that experience, even though you're not getting paid a ton of money, worth it for all these guys? They're giving it a go. Because obviously, TV ratings aren't that of the NFL. They're not filling stadiums like the NFL is, but it is an avenue to still be seen, I would think, by most of these guys.
Absolutely, right. The hardest thing about the NFL is at this point, there really is you can't really go play in a competitive league somewhere like, let's say, the soccer system or minor league baseball.
Right, because they don't have a farm system, right?
Exactly. So if you get that one of the opportunities, if no one's watching, at least you have other coaches, such as NFL coaches, that can still watch that film with a live rush, with a helmet and pads, with a little bit of pressure. And Danny really, he smoked it there and put himself on a pedestal.
So now he gets to Green Bay, and now it's a whole new different set of circumstances, I would think, because UCLA, last time I checked, doesn't really get snow. XFL, that's in the spring, so you don't really have to worry about snow there. The cold weather that goes along with it. How was that adjustment?
Well, from a punting perspective and a kicking perspective, if you look at, some of the more colder, cold weather teams, a lot of times what you're looking at is you want a big dude, right? You want a big guy with a big leg that just from a physical perspective can match the weather. So Danny's 6'5", 6'6", 200 and something pounds. He just naturally kicks things very hard. So I think from the perspective of, a mindset, Danny's very, relaxed, laid back. Obviously he takes his work very seriously, but he's a relaxed, very calm demeanor. It comes from mom, comes from his background, but also the fact that he's 6'6", right? Force equals mass times acceleration. He kind of just has that perfect, combination of size, strength, and also just a mindset that, hey, it's cold, I'm still going to kick it hard, right? It's 100 degrees, I'm still going to do my job. And you can see he's improved every year since he's been there and learned to adapt to those weather conditions.
Aaron Perez, owner of Punt Factory. Follow him on Twitter at the Punt Factory. Again, developing punters all over the world, as he said. Daniel Whelan happens to be one of the guys he's worked with since Whelan's been 11 years old. Talk about what the offseason looks like after they do their exit interviews. And then what is that process like with you and your coaches and Daniel Whelan until they get back to training camp?
Yeah, so, there's a couple guys now that Dan will work with. There's a group of pros that train down in San Diego. And I know, his family was based out of like Laguna Beach for a couple of years. So Dan would go back. We would work when I was living there. We'd work pretty often, pretty consistently. And then whenever I'm home, we'll work there. But there's a group of pro kickers and punters that will train down in San Diego. So basically these guys, all the NFL guys, they'll take a couple weeks off. They'll go on vacation. They will be with their families. And then once it gets back to that, within, I would say, 6 to 8 weeks before minicamp, OTAs, they'll get back in the gym. They'll get back out on the field. They'll start hitting balls. And really, I know Dan got some feedback from his special teams coordinator this offseason about shortening his steps. At that level, usually it's just one or two things that they're going to really focus on. Maybe it's hitting a spot. Maybe it's direction. Maybe it's less touchbacks. Whatever that may be, he'll get those instructions from his coach. They're in constant communication. Then we'll take that and really work on the offseason on, okay, what are drills? What are patterns? What are things that we can tell ourselves to improve and be ready for, competitions in the spring and then ultimately the NFL season?
I don't want you to name any names on this next question I'm going to give you, and I don't think you would anyhow, but I am just curious because I've worked with former athletes before, and I've had former athletes tell me their positions coaches didn't know a damn thing about what they were coaching. Do you run into any situations where your punter, whoever it may be, or kicker comes back to you, says, hey, this is what coach wants, and you just start laughing and like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. We're going to do what I know makes you successful. Do you get any of that with any of the clients that you have?
Not really. I mean, listen, there's always at that level, I think most of those guys are proven enough where they're going to admit one of two things, or really one of one thing, right? I don't really know what, let's say, Dan or any of the other NFL guys. As long as you get the job done, that's all I care about. Here's what I want. I want the ball to the numbers, and I want you to get the ball off, 1.2 seconds touch to toe. And that's it. And that's the only feedback. And at that level, a lot of times, from my experience, the guys are just getting, as long as I hit these parameters, we're good. So, not really anything super crazy, because at the end of the day, it's a results-based business. Their job's relying on the punter doing well and the kicker doing well. So whatever those guys need to do, they're going to allow them to do that.
Talking with Aaron Perez, owner of the Punt Factory, joining us here. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's on the Fancy. Sparky, Fifer with you. What about the offseason as far as how many balls, they kick, per day once they get back into the regiment, like you said, after vacation? Because you hear basketball players, oh, we took 200 jump shots today and all that stuff. So how crazy does it get for a punter? Because if we're being honest, we have Mason Crosby on the air here, Packers all-time leading scorer, field goal kicker. He's on from 9 to 11 every day. And those guys always get accused of playing golf during training camp and not really being into it as much as everybody else. So what does an offseason look like for a punter?
Normally, similar to a pitcher, they're going to have a pitch count, right? And if it's not given to them, it's going to be in their head. But you take a typical guy like Dan, Dan's probably going to be, training from a punting perspective, let's say Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday. A lot of times it's going to be dependent on when he can get a snapper out with him, right? When he has a field availability, because being out in California, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but finding an open turf field in the middle of the day is pretty hard to find. So
really,
they lock them up pretty good. But normally starting out, it's maybe 2 to 3 days a week, just depending on how the leg's feeling. And normally we're talking anywhere from probably 30 to 50 balls, probably averaging about 40, depending on what we're working on. And then as we get closer to training camp, we may add a third or fourth day just to condition the leg to be kicking more often again. But I'd say anywhere around, 40, 50 balls, situational workout, and then probably 2 to 4 days a week, depending on the time of the year.
What about strength training?
It's big. So these guys, a lot of them, Danny will get a workout plan from Green Bay or, whatever team they have. Now,
Right.
A lot of times when they're home, they're going to have a gym they work out that works with top level athletes that will also supplement, right? But, again, probably similar to what they do with the team. I'd say anywhere from 3 to 4 days a week, just to make sure their body's staying healthy. And with the punters, it's a lot of it is, mobility, agility, stretching, and core work as well.
Yeah, you're not trying to bench press anybody at the end of the day, right?
No.
Aaron Perez, owner of the Punt Factory. Follow him on Twitter at the Punt Factory. I always like people go ahead and promote if they have their own business or whatever. So feel free.
Oh, for me, I love what I do. And again, it's in terms of promoting, I kind of let my guys be my resume, right? So right now we've got Danny, we've got Ryan Wright at the Vikings, Jamie Gillen, the Scottish Hammer at the Giants, Jake Bailey at the Dolphins, hundreds of guys in college, a bunch of high school kids across the country. But at the end of the day, those guys, if they do well, it reflects better on us. I just want them to have the greatest experience, man. And it's fun to watch them. I've got a 7-year-old boy that we watch on Saturday, and it's cool to see, going from a FaceTime with the kid on a Wednesday to watching him play on TV. But no, we're very blessed and glad that these guys are living their dream, and may they continue to do so for a long time.
Follow him on Twitter at the Punt Factory. He is Aaron Perez. He works with Daniel Whelan in the offseason as well, has since he's been 11. How cool is that? Aaron, thanks so much for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, boss, very much.
You betcha. Take care. There he is, Aaron Perez on the Fan Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call. That's all. Coming up next, Charlie's Sounds of the Day. And if you love Wendy's classic chocolate and vanilla frosty flavors, there's some big news. They're all new Frosty Swirls and now Frosty Fusions. Same creamy treat you've always loved. Now they flavor refresh. So what other flavors? Okay, well, we got the Frosty Swirls. They've been around for a while, all right? Strawberry, brownie batter, and caramel. Now, you can get those with either base, chocolate or vanilla frosty. I, myself, like the brownie batter with a chocolate. Charlie is more of a vanilla base guy, correct?
I am. That strawberry Pop-Tart one is delicious with the vanilla base.
You're rolling with the vanilla base. All right. So the fusions that he just brought up is a strawberry Pop-Tart or Pop-Tart strawberry. The Oreo brownie, that's my favorite with a chocolate base. And then there's the caramel crunch. That's got like pieces of toffee in it. Again, you can go chocolate or vanilla base. So clock in for sweet treat time with Wendy's all new frosty flavors. A refresh on a classic. It's gotta be Wendy's. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, the Fan Studios. Powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy. See Sparky Fifer with you. Charlie using other side of the glass. I got to ask you something, Charlie, before we get to Charlie's Sounds of the Day, top 3 clips from around the world of sports that Charlie does each and every day at 3:40 here on Wisconsin Sports Daily. When you were in school, because obviously you just graduated college a little bit ago, did they have this like class dojo app thing or whatever where your parents, would know if you're getting points in class for paying attention and listening and all of this stuff? Now we're talking grade school here. They didn't do this in high school.
No, we didn't have that in grade school. We had I don't know if you ever had this. It would be I guess it would be like nowadays they use it as a phone holder, but it's got a bunch of little pockets on it, and each kid would have a bunch of cards in it. And if you had like a happy face, you had a good day. If you were like the medium face on there, that means you had a bad day. If you had a red face, your teacher would talk to your parents about it that way. So it was like the old school style, you know?
Yeah, it is old school.
See, I'm
style.
still a little older.
See, now here, I'm telling you right now, this thing here, look, you can kind of see it. It is a whole like app.
That's fancy.
And it all comes to you, right? So like today he's got like 9-year-old, right? 1 point for being responsible, 1 point for listening, 1 point for on task, another point for on task. And you accumulate points. And then once you get to so many points, you get whatever. And then once the class gets to so many points, the teacher may have a party for them or whatever if they get so many points. But you can also lose points if you're bad and get screwed up. So like if you get a -1, providing your parent cares and is paying attention, then, you know, when little Johnny comes home, okay, what is this all about? Let's have a conversation because we don't want to lose points. I just wondered how often ago this started. That's I'm curious about. Like in high school, we had an app and we could tell what assignments were missing from our high school kids when they were in high school. When I was in high school, my parents had no idea what I was doing in school. They didn't know my assignments were turned in. They didn't know what my grades were. They didn't know nothing until my report card showed up. When the older kids were in high school, we knew everything.
Yeah, my parents had that too. You would have like the class portals where they could go and see everything.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know. Like, I don't know if, I guess personally, I need to see if my 9-year-old had like -1 point today or +2 points. That's a little much. And I also feel like if I was running a classroom full of 9-year-olds, I would never remember to be giving them points or taking away points. It'd be ripping my hair out trying to deal with them.
To try and get through the day each and every day. But I love the Portal High School thing because you can really cut off issues at the pass if somebody is struggling in a class or homework's not getting done. Again, not every parent pays attention to it. Most parents are like, I don't care. Just don't screw up. Don't fail, whatever else. Our house had higher standards, I guess, than some other houses, which is fine. All right, let's get to our guy, Charlie Usen.
What sound clips will Chicago Charlie pick today for Sparky? Will Sparky become enraged? Will laughter ensue? It's time for Charlie's Sound of the Day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's on The Fan.
All right, let's get to top 3 clips from around the world of sports brought to you by Prize Picks. Download Prize Picks today. Use that promo code Sparky when you play your first $5 lineup. They'll give you $50 for playing that first $5 lineup, which means you play $5 lineups going forward. You can play 11 lineups for a grand total of $5. Download the Prize Picks lineup. Use promo code Sparky, SPARKY. What do you got, Charlie Usen?
All right, first up here today, we are going to hear from Josh Pate, college football analyst on his show.
He's been on this show before.
Yep. College football show. The big news around college football is the way the AP poll has kind of shown out this past week and all the different voters that have been making kind of bad decisions. Haley Sawyer, an AP voter.
She got killed on social media.
Because she put out a video that probably was a little tone deaf to football fans, I guess. She basically said that it doesn't matter that much because other people can go out and make their votes and then it evens out anyway. So why do people care so much about her singular vote? And it's like, why do you even have a vote then?
Yes.
Josh Pate said that the people who run the NCAA, at least NCAA football, are more to blame than voters like Haley Sawyer.
Well, the AP poll doesn't matter, Josh. What matters to you? Well, of course, the college football playoff rankings matter. Where do you think they get their baseline opinion from?
Right.
Where do you think they get their starting point from?
Yep.
You don't think this thing right here shapes their thinking? These people are just as inept and just as unqualified or incapable of watching college football in totality as the AP voters are.
Thank you.
College football is gate-kept by clowns.
Yes.
College football for a long time has been run by people who could not care less about the sport.
Thank you.
College football is sort of a play toy for them.
There you go.
College football is sort of a mechanism for them. In some cases, it's just so they can feel authoritative about something.
Yes.
And they couldn't get their hands on a pro sport, so they had to settle for fooling people into putting them in administrative positions that they slithered their way up the ladder in college athletics.
Slithered.
And then, lo and behold, 30 years later, they get to decide who votes on this and who votes on that and who decides this and who runs that committee. So they don't really take it seriously. They don't love it. A lot of them don't love it at all. It's just kind of an on-ramp for some of them to get where they want to go, which is news or politics. And for others, It's just they kind of failed their way up. And then they build a model where that ends up happening. So a lot of people looked at this today and said, oh, Haley Sawyer, take her vote away. Not her fault.
I agree with everything the man said. Everything. That's why we had him on the show, because I agree with everything he said prior to me getting him on the show the last time. He's really good. If you don't follow him on social media, you should. And, you want to talk about guys that love college football. He loves college football. That dude would watch college football 365 if given the opportunity. Man loves college football. So his frustration and anger towards those in charge of the sport, in my opinion, is justified. But this is the exact same reason why I've said before that the human element should be taken the heck out of this, and it should be done by a computer program. And I do not care about what anybody else thinks. I don't care about these guys, like he said, being on a committee that don't know the first thing about what they're watching or anything of the sort, and getting to play, bigger power than anybody else, right? Getting on these ego trips about, I get to decide who's in the college football playoff. Most of them shouldn't be on that. And I said this too, former players, former coaches, those are the guys and girls that should be in that room. The problem then, even with that, is, well, they're going to be favoring their alma mater. They're going to be favoring where they went to school. They're not going to vote for their rival because they can't stand them, right? Alabama playing, voting for Auburn, that type of stuff. So you still run into that. The only way to make it fair, as I've stated a million times, is a program with all the elements put into it. You send out the formula with all the elements in it to every Division I school. This is how it works. So here we go. That's it. Case closed. Done. Let's go. And you don't have to worry about what's her name? Haley Sawyer. You don't ever have to worry about her again. And congratulations for her, because now people know who she is. Exactly. They had no idea who she was prior to this.
Well, and that's kind of crazy to me that it takes such little effort to honestly be an AP voter. And I'm not a huge fan of taking away all human interaction in this. I think it's fun that people get to vote on this and people get to kind of design this poll and people take it so seriously. It makes it, again, more fun to kind of pay attention to college football when it's such a big landscape that you normally don't get to see. It doesn't take a genius who hasn't watched USF or Florida, or has watched USF versus Florida 100 times to this point, to say that USF deserves to be in the top 25 after 2 games in the regular season so far here. Like that's insane that she would even think about leaving them out or even forget about leaving them out. I didn't watch that game, and I know USF deserves to be in the top 25 based off of everything that I've heard and the articles that I've read. And that took me 1 to 2 days to figure that out.
Players getting spit on, put it in the spotlight.
Exactly. Too. And to know that Florida doesn't deserve to be ranked that high because they obviously are not out there producing at the level that they should be is really easy to say too. It's kind of insane that it takes such little effort and these people still don't even put in that much effort.
Yep. All right, cut number 2.
Next up here, we're going to head over to Good Morning Football, where old friend of the Green Bay Packers, Randall Cobb, was on there discussing Micah Parsons and the ceiling for this Packers team.
Look at the fact that they gave him number 1. The last person to wear number 1 was Curly Lambeau, and they gave it to Micah Parsons. How wild is that? Mm-hmm. I think just when you watch him play and the aggressiveness that he plays with, what he's going to bring to that defense, being able to rush the quarterback and letting those DBs play with their eyes on the quarterback and being able to keep the ball in front of them. He's going to be a game changer for this defense, which is going to create more opportunities for the offense. And I love Jordan Love and the receivers that they brought in with Golden and Romeo Dobbs being healthy. I look forward to this opportunity for this Packers team. Like they have all the pieces, and it's about staying healthy and really making a run in the playoffs. We've seen them in the playoffs, but we need to see them make that next step.
I think that's fair. That's what it all comes down to, right? It all comes down to the postseason. If Micah Parsons is on the Packers and they get bounced in their first playoff game, everybody is going to be like, why did we do that if we can't get any farther than we did before? Oh, good. We won 12 or 13 games. Well, they were doing that prior to Micah Parsons getting here. At the end of the day, it's going to be evaluated on if they get to the Super Bowl and win it or not. That's how the next 3-4 years is going to be based on, can they get to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl? If there is no Vince Lombardi trophy in the next 3 or 4 years, I'm telling you right now, there are going to be people that are going to say that was a waste of time. especially if the Cowboys hit on one or two of those draft picks.
Yeah, that's going to be the biggest factor is how are people going to look back on the trade as a whole? Because NFL fans just love doing that. I saw earlier today people were bringing up the Bears trading the first overall pick to the Panthers and saying this is the first no-win situation that any trade has been in, and people just bring that up. That's one of their favorite things. So if this doesn't work out for the Packers in a Lombardi trophy, people are going to take issue with that, even though Micah Parsons could end up in these 4 years being one of the greatest Packers pass rushers ever.
And that was kind of a crap take, too, because they had Luther Burden on that list. He just got there. Caleb Williams, you don't know what that is as a finished piece. Right? I mean, there's a lot of guys that have question marks.
Bryce Young looked good last year, too. So at the second half of the year last year.
I have no faith in Bryce Young. All right, third clip.
And I saved the one that I think is going to make you the most angry for last.
Of course.
Adam Silver finally decided to speak up on the Clippers Kawhi Leonard scandal that Pablo Torre brought up. And here is what Adam Silver had to say.
Number one, the burden is on the league. If we're going to discipline a team, an owner, a player, or any of the constituent members of the league, I think as with any process that requires a fundamental sense of fairness, the burden should be on the party that is in essence bringing those charges. And then in terms of your specific question about circumstantial evidence, I was only quasi joking with someone earlier that when people talk about a smoking gun, that's obviously circumstantial. It means the gun is still smoking. It must have recently fired. I'd say in the case of the league, we and our investigators look at the totality of the evidence. So I think whether mere appearance, like just by the way those words read, I think as a matter of fundamental fairness, I would be reluctant to act if there was sort of a mere appearance of impropriety. I think that the goal of a full investigation is to find out if there really was impropriety, because also in a public-facing sport, again, the public at times reaches conclusions that later turn out to be completely false. And so I would want anybody else in situation Mr. Ballmer is in now, or Kawhi Leonard for that matter, to be treated the same way I would want to be treated if people were making allegations against me. So the answer is we're not a court of law at the end of the day either, that we have broad authority to look at all information and to weigh it accordingly.
So I have these are the two things, Mr. Silver, maybe three things. First of all, he also said, I don't believe it was in that piece, that he had never even heard of this company and never heard of it. It's a $300 million deal. You never heard of it? I don't believe you. So you have Kawhi Leonard, who apparently got this money and didn't do anything for it. And then you have Ballmer, who allegedly gave $50 million to said company, in which like 48 of it went to Kawhi Leonard through side hush stuff and, you're going to represent and help us. Yet he never did anything for said company and so forth. He says he needs hard evidence. He needs proof. Okay. I don't know how you're going to get your hands on Kawhi Leonard's bank account to see the deposits or wherever that money went to, or the bank records of the company. And they folded, right? They're gone.
Yeah, they're done after this.
Wait, how are you going to? So you have to get the bank records to show the deposits being sent or wired or whatever, however they move that amount of money to said player or said player's agent. You're going to have to find those hard documents, and you're going to have to find the money coming from Ballmer to that company as well. That's all banking stuff. How can the NBA have any authorization to get their hands on any type of banking statements? I don't see how that's going to happen or how that's going to go down. So at the end of the day, the NBA is going to do nothing and say, got nothing. Have a nice day. And they're going to go on with their business. But what happens if Pablo Torres comes out now and has a story on Jalen Brunson next about, he took less money to play for the Knicks, but he's got this, and this going on side hustles over here with the Knicks. What are they going to do to that? Are they going to go, hey, we're good? And then what happens if Pablo Torres goes out and finds another player, another team with a more side hustle? I mean, how many will there have to be before Adam Silver goes, okay, we know we said we found nothing, but now I'm getting concerned. Like, you can wipe away the first one and say, we got nothing. But if your boy Pablo Torres goes and finds one or two more, there's going to be a lot of explaining to do.
Well, and Pablo Torre came out and said that it took him 7 months, 7 sources, so many different interviews, digging through all these different files to find all this stuff because it was so hidden and so deep down. I mean, this just cannot be nothing. I don't know how Adam Silver and the NBA can look at this and say, you know what, there's not enough there for us to really truly dig into this. I mean, this kind of seems like just legal problems in general. It's not like in college football where Michigan is sign stealing and going to practices where it's all can be solved within the world of football. This is starting to get the stuff that's way beyond that. That's into just law and order at this point. And that's a real big issue if the NBA is just going to continue to ignore that. And again, if Jalen Brunson's involved in this, if there's more people that are getting paid in this way, it's just unfair. It is for the entire league, and Adam Silver should have a problem with that. And if he doesn't, I think that looks a little shady on him too.
Again, when you run a professional league, whether it's Goodell, whether it's Silver, whatever else, there's going to be situations where people are going to have questions about, like you said, shady aspects of what is going on in the league office when certain things are looked the other way on. Just go back to yesterday. $56,000, $57,000 for spitting on a human being, and the dude doesn't get suspended? Really? I mean, yeah, everybody's looking at Roger Goodell like, seriously.
You're telling me if Devontae Wyatt did that, he wouldn't be suspended for 2 games? Like, that's crazy.
I don't know. Now I kind of want to see what happens if Devontae Wyatt does do it. Because what are you going to say? Oh, we're going to fine him $250,000 and suspend him 3 games. Timeout. You just suspended that guy, not at all, because he got kicked out of the game, and $57,000. That now has to be the standard of the rest of the year. Like, you can't change the line now. You're in the regular season. You cannot move the line.
Right. You let Jalen Carter get away with it. Now you have to let everybody get away with it, or you're an idiot.
Yep, correct. And then the Players Association is going to appeal and be like, nope, sorry. You did this. This is what's going to have to be the rest of the way out. Even though the Players Association may agree with the idea of this is horrible and cannot be happening, but your faulty disciplinary actions at the league offices screw this whole thing up going forward. Coming up next, Green and Gold update time with a writer from the Packer Report, Easton Butler. He had a tweet out last night saying the Packers got a couple offers on the table for Romeo Doubs, Packers wide receiver. We'll talk with him next. Wisconsin Sports Daily served up by Wendy's, live from the Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here.